You walk into a room full of strangers. You don't know their names, you don't know their jobs, you don't know if they're kind or cruel, safe or dangerous. And yet, in the first tenth of a second, your brain has already decided. It has already judged their trustworthiness, their competence, whether you like them, all before they've said a single word. You'd think this kind of snap judgment would need time, evidence, a conversation at least, but it doesn't. Your brain isn't waiting for information. It's running a program that's far older than politeness, far older than language itself. So what is it actually doing in that split second, and why can't you turn it off? Psychologist Alexander Todorov ran an experiment that exposed just how fast this system works. He showed people photographs of unfamiliar faces for a tenth of a second, just long enough to see, not long enough to think. Then he asked a simple question: do you trust this person? The answers were remarkably consistent. Strangers, shown the same faces for the same fraction of a second, agreed with each other again and again. Something in the shape of a face, the angle of an eyebrow, the width of a jaw, was triggering the exact same verdict in almost everyone who looked at it. Here's the strange part. Giving people more time barely changed their minds. A tenth of a second and a full 10 seconds produced nearly the same judgments. Your brain isn't refining its opinion the longer it looks. It's just getting more confident in the opinion it already made. That's not how conscious thought works. Conscious thought is slow. It weighs evidence. It changes its mind. This is something else entirely. This is called thin slicing. The mind takes a thin slice of information, a face, a posture, a tone of voice, and builds an entire judgment from almost nothing. Psychologist Nalini Ambati studied this in a different setting. She showed people silent video clips of college professors teaching, just 2 seconds long. No sound, no context. Then she asked viewers to rate the professor's competence, warmth, and confidence. Those 2-second ratings, made by total strangers who had never sat in the classroom, closely matched the evaluations that real students gave after an entire semester of lectures. 2 seconds versus 16 weeks, and the strangers weren't far off. Why would evolution build a brain that judges people this fast and this confidently of almost nothing? Because for most of human history, hesitation was the more dangerous choice. Picture your ancestors on the savanna, tens of thousands of years ago. A figure appears at the edge of the trees. Is it kin? Is it a rival? Is it a threat carrying a weapon? There was no time for a slow, careful investigation. No time to gather evidence, weigh pros and cons, sleep on it. A body that hesitated too long, that waited for certainty before reacting, was a body that didn't get to pass on its genes. Natural selection didn't reward the most accurate judges of strangers. It rewarded the fastest ones, even when fast meant wrong. That single trade-off, speed over accuracy, is still running inside your skull today. You didn't choose it, you inherited it. And it isn't random. Psychologist Leslie Zebrowitz spent decades studying how certain facial features get mapped onto certain traits, almost universally, across cultures that have never met. Rounder faces, softer features, larger eyes. These tend to read as trustworthy, even warm. It's called baby-facedness, and it triggers something ancient and protective in the viewer, the same instinct that makes you want to care for an infant. Sharper jaws, thicker brows, more angular structure. These tend to read as dominant, sometimes threatening. None of this has anything to do with who the person actually is. A person with a baby face can be cruel. A person with an angular jaw can be gentle. But your brain isn't asking who they are. It's asking what they resemble. It's pattern matching against millions of years of ancestral encounters, most of which have nothing to do with the actual stranger standing in front of you. Here's the twist that should unsettle you a little. You believe your first impressions are observations. They feel like facts you noticed. But they aren't facts, they're guesses, built by a system optimized for survival on the savanna. now running on the 21st century humans you meet in job interviews, on dating apps, in doctors' offices. Todorov's later research found something even more uncomfortable. In experiments using photographs of political candidates, people's snap judgments of competence, made from a face alone and nothing else, predicted actual election outcomes at rates well above chance. Not policy, not experience, not debate performance. A face held for less than a second. Democracies, careers, courtrooms, all of them run partly on a machine designed to spot a lion in the grass. Think about what that means for the last stranger you judged. The interviewer who seemed cold before they said a word. The date who seemed untrustworthy from across the restaurant. The new coworker you decided you didn't like on day one. How much of that judgment was actually about them? And how much of it was your ancestors, still standing at the edge of an ancient tree line, still asking the same single question they've always asked? Friend or threat? You can't switch this system off. It fires before your conscious mind even joins the conversation. But you can know it's there. You can notice the verdict arriving in that first tenth of a second and ask yourself where it actually came from. Because the next time you walk into a room full of strangers, your brain will judge every face in it before you've taken 3 steps inside. And that verdict won't feel like a guess. It will feel like the truth.